Hi everyone, welcome to my Tribe 9 Chapter 3 story review. I'm going to break this review down into a couple of categories. It'll be broken down to story pacing, character development, world design, cinematography, sound design, and my overall enjoyment. I'll leave timestamps in case you want to skip around the video. I'm going to rate them accordingly to gacha game standards. There are going to be spoilers in this video, so if you want to avoid that, click out of this video now. Chapter 3 was heartbreaking. I think it was decent, but it could have been better. Chapter 3 to me was mainly about Q or Ojiro trying to atone for his sins. I want to preface and say I've never finished the Tribe 9 anime. I think I watched one or two episodes, then dropped it. With that being said, I did not have the full context of what Ojiro did in the anime. It was briefly explained that Ojiro killed the former king, his father or stepfather or something like that, became the new king, then announced a new XB law where people are allowed to kill each other through XB. Many lives were lost under his rule. He was overthrown when Minato tribe challenged him. After his defeat, Ojiro went MIA. That's the gist I've got. I think if I had watched the anime and had a full understanding of what Ojiro did in the anime, I would have enjoyed this chapter a lot more. I enjoyed chapter 1 and 2 more because, well, while this game is a sequel to the anime, it didn't make me feel like I had to watch the anime to fully understand what's going on. It was pretty hype when Q reviewed he was Ojiro and planned to liberate Neochita from Magata's rule. The ending was very heartbreaking and a bit frustrating. I didn't like the self-sacrificing part. I wanted to see the redemption of Ojiro, but I don't think that's gonna happen anytime soon or at all anymore. There were a couple of things that I didn't like about this chapter. You'll try to convince Trash Tribe to work with Magata. Magata claims he's trying to take down Zero and their goals somewhat aligns, but Kazuki and the Trash Tribe, without any concrete evidence, claims that Magata is the bad guy and oppose the idea. We didn't find out Magata's true motive until he loses the XB. It felt like to me, Trash Tribe just guessed and got lucky. There were a couple of plot holes, like what happened when someone becomes irrelevant and gets taken up into the sky. Do they actually die? We've only seen one instance of that happening in the beginning of chapter 3. We never found out what happened to the missing person described in the Verity Orb. Things like this. I look forward to chapter 4 and I hope it answers some of my questions that I had at the end of chapter 3. About the story pacing, for the most part it was okay, but I did feel like it was a little bit rushed. I wish they would have slowed down a little bit and put more time into detailing certain aspects of the story. Timeline wise, is it weird for me to say it's kind of whack? It felt like all the events in chapter 3 happened in a day. I don't remember there being any breaks or any indication of the main party resting or needing time to prepare for a big event. I think Neochita always being in daylight reinforces that feeling. For example, in chapter 1, one person must be sacrificed every week or month. I don't remember the exact details, but the point is, it had a sense of time passing by. I hope for the future updates they make it more obvious time has passed. Maybe implementing a day and night cycle during the story progression would be nice. The character development aspect in chapter 3 is a bit shaky for me. Since I didn't watch the anime, Ojiro's character development wasn't that impactful for me. My first thought when Q reviewed he was Ojiro to the public was badass, like holy shit, that's awesome. My second thought was, did this guy just change in front of his friends? I like that he was taking accountability and trying to right his wrongs. It adds onto his character development, but then it all got erased. It was rather disappointing, to be honest. I love Hina's design, but she and her brother Ichinosuke felt shallow. They make being loyal and worshipping Ojiro their whole character identity. Seeing that how loyal they are to Ojiro, it was weird for me they didn't notice any changes in Q at the end of the chapter. The antagonist Makata felt weak and insignificant. He's not memorable and didn't feel very fleshed out. no pun intended. For example, the chapter 1 and 2 antagonists, Ichinose and Sui, we were provided with their backstory and their motive. We understand why they behave and rule the way they do. What I know about Magata is he was a scientist that got obsessed with Zero's reviving ability. Then he offed himself to further his research, thinking once he figured out Zero's reviving ability, he can revive himself. He wasn't doing this research for the benefit of his people or the people of Neo Chiyoda, but just for his curiosity. Of course, this is my opinion. If you feel otherwise, leave a comment down below and we can start a discussion. Next, I want to go over the world design, specifically Neo Chiyoda. The Neo Chiyoda instances was well designed. It's probably my favorite city aesthetically. The enemies were well placed and for the most part was not an obstacle to the exploration compared to my early playthrough of chapter 1 and 2. Chapter 1 and 2 had unavoidable battles because the enemies were roaming down the path that you need to take to get to the next objective. The devs then made changes to chapter 1 and 2 to make the streets less crowded. The exploration feels very interactive and rewarding with a good number of chests, graffiti, and puzzles. It didn't make me feel like I'm dragging myself from point A to point B. My main complaint would be the minimap, and just the map in general is kind of hot garbage. The minimap barely gives any information. The big map is misleading. What I mean by misleading is when I use the big map and I see an area that is connected to each other, I would assume that in the overworld they're connected as well. But no, there's a huge gap or a blockade. This made navigating to the city's top and bottom floor a bit frustrating. I hope for future updates the devs put more work on the minimap and also the big map just to be more user friendly. Tribe 9's story presentation and visual aesthetic, in my opinion, are very high quality. Story presentation wise, I think it's probably the best out of all the gacha games I've played so far. I think it's very underrated. The characters are very expressive and the animation is well done. I don't remember there being any cinematic scenes, and honestly, I don't think Tribe 9 needs it at the moment. The animation in XB makes XB a lot more enjoyable for me. I think XB would probably still be the weakest part in the gameplay, and without the flashy animation, I'd probably hate it tremendously. Chapter 3 sound design meets my expectation. The quality is consistent to chapter 1 and 2. Every dialogue was voiced. The Japanese VA did a great job in conveying the character's emotion. Combined with the story presentation, it puts it on another level. I think they did a good job on the BGM. Actually, the background music in this video is from chapter 3's OST. Overall, even though the story and character development aren't my favorite, I enjoyed this update. The presentation and voice acting was fun, enjoyable, and made the story a treat from start to finish. I love all the QOL changes. I like that the fact that you can use 3 boosters now in a Rift run. I hope in the future they'll increase it to 5. The exploration experience was great and a lot of fun. The map displaying how many graffiti there is in the area was absolutely chef's kiss. I was disappointed that the overworld boss Rakuzakai, I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing it, was not an actual boss related to the chapter 3 story. So I'm gonna rate each category from 1 to 10. Story, I'm gonna give it a 6. It felt a little rushed, had plot holes, and I wish they provided more details in certain aspects of the story. Story pacing, I'd give it an 8. For character development, I'll give it a 4. Hina, Ichinosuke, and Makata were a bit shallow and weren't really fleshed out to me, in my opinion. Also, I hate that Ojiro's character development basically got resetted. World design wise, I'd give it a 9. I had to dock a point for the maps, it's just not user friendly. Cinematography and sound design, I'll give it each a 10. Both of these categories made the story, to me, very enjoyable. And when we add up all the score and average it, it'll be a 7.83-ish. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. If you like my content, please leave a like and subscribe. Enjoy farming in Tribe 9 and have a great day.